My roommate slipped me a red envelope. I knew right away it was life-buying money, so I turned around and burned it for a lecherous ghost. That night, a man climbed into my roommate's bed. "Ashley, thanks for going to the clinic with me today. You have to take this red envelope, it's a small token of my appreciation." As soon as we left the clinic, my roommate, Heather, stuffed a red envelope into my hand. Before I could even react, Heather waved goodbye. "I've got stuff to do at home, so I won't walk you back." With that, she hopped into a cab and disappeared. I looked at the red envelope in my hand, half annoyed and half amused. My dad is a well-known master in the area, and I've picked up a lot of knowledge from him over the years. I recognized immediately that this red envelope contained life-buying money. To confirm my suspicion, I examined the envelope carefully. Sure enough, in the bottom right corner of the back, written in tiny red letters, was Heather's birth date and time. Red ink, and such small handwriting, if I hadn't been looking for it, I would have missed it. I was completely speechless. Heather had gotten pregnant unexpectedly, and her boyfriend vanished into thin air the moment he found out. She didn't dare tell her parents and begged me in the dorm for ages before I finally agreed to go with her to the clinic for an abortion. This jerk must have been worried about being weak after the procedure, afraid it would mess up her final exams and she'd lose her scholarship. That's why she came up with this rotten idea, to buy my life and help herself recover. I never would have thought. I was nice enough to go to the clinic with you, and you actually tried to buy my life. And if you're going to buy a life, at least put some decent money in it. Just $200? Who are you trying to fool, a ghost? I scoffed. I'm the daughter of a feng shui master after all. If you're trying to scheme against me, you've picked the right person. Without a second thought, I hailed a cab straight to the nearest cemetery. This life-buying money doesn't just buy the life of whoever it's given to. The person whose life is being bought has to spend it for the transaction to be complete. I wandered around the cemetery all afternoon until it was completely dark, then finally squatted down in front of a grave. I'd mentally gone through everyone buried in the entire cemetery. Only the guy buried in front of me was an old lecherous ghost, still suffering in the 18th level of hell for all the evil he'd done in his life, unable to reincarnate. He was the one. I took out the red envelope, lit it with a lighter, and mumbled Heather's birth date and time. "Hey buddy, you probably don't know my friend, but she's had a crush on you since she was little. You have no idea. She cried herself unconscious several times after you died. So, today she asked me to burn some money for you. This $200 isn't much, but it's the thought that counts. Spend it wisely, and if you need more, just ask her." As the red envelope burned to ashes, I stood up, brushed the dirt off myself, and headed back to school. Job done. As soon as I entered the dorm, Heather eagerly rushed over. "Ashley, did you spend the money from the red envelope?" I nodded repeatedly. "Yeah, spent it all. Thanks a lot." Hearing this, Heather beamed. "That's great. You went to the clinic with me, it was the least I could do." With that, she quickly climbed into her bed. I gave her a meaningful look. "Buddy, your good times are just beginning." Maybe it was because she was in a good mood, or maybe because her body was weak from the abortion, but Heather started snoring pretty quickly. I, on the other hand, couldn't sleep and lay in bed scrolling through my phone. Just after midnight, a sudden chill swept through the room. I shivered involuntarily. The locked dorm room door creaked open, and a skinny man silently appeared in the doorway. The man sniffed the air, then let out a strange laugh and climbed straight into Heather's bed. The next morning, Heather was late getting up. Seeing that we were about to be late for class, I tapped her bed frame, and she finally startled awake. "Oh, what happened? Did my alarm not go off?" I shrugged helplessly. "It went off, all right. It was ringing for a long time. I thought you heard it." Heather climbed out of bed looking exhausted. "I'm so tired. Why did I sleep so soundly today?" I feigned ignorance. "You just had a major procedure yesterday, you must be really weak. Maybe you should skip class for a few days and rest in the dorm." But Heather looked puzzled and muttered, "That shouldn't be. I already bought a life." Then she turned to me. "Ashley, are you sure you spent all the money from the red envelope yesterday?" I nodded firmly. "Yeah, I spent it all. Why do you ask? If you're short on cash, I can send you some?" Heather quickly waved her hands. No, it's nothing. I still have to go to class. Finals are coming up soon. I can't afford to miss anything. Heather's grades had always been excellent. She'd been first in our class since freshman year, though I'd never actually seen her study. All morning, Heather wasn't in good spirits. She kept her head down, looking like she was about to fall asleep. When we got back to the dorm at noon, Heather glanced at her schedule and sighed with relief. It's a big lecture this afternoon, so I'm not going. This professor never takes attendance. I need to catch up on some sleep. But wouldn't you know it, the afternoon professor, for the first time ever, called on students to answer questions, and out of over 300 students in the major, he called on Heather. When the professor saw Heather wasn't there, he said angrily, "This is the only time I've called on anyone all semester, and I caught you. All your participation points are gone." When Heather found out, she rushed to plead with the professor, but came back a while later with a long face. It's over. This professor is notoriously difficult. I'm going to fail this course." Seeing Heather's dejected look, I also felt a bit puzzled and quietly did another calculation on that ghost. The result startled me. Whoa, that ghost wasn't just a lecherous ghost, he was also a jinx. This was getting interesting. With a jinx latched onto her, Heather was probably in for a stretch of bad luck. For several nights in a row, the jinx appeared punctually after midnight and climbed into Heather's bed. And Heather's condition got worse and worse. Her face was pale, her spirits were low, and she'd get out of breath after walking just a few steps. Finally, Heather couldn't take it anymore and came to question me again. "Ashley, tell me the truth. Did you spend that red envelope or not?" I said helplessly, "Dude, I really spent it. Seriously, what's going on?" But Heather kept pressing. "How did you spend it? Tell me." I said innocently, "I burned it for my ex-boyfriend. Sigh, my ex died a horrible death. He was secretly dating over a dozen girls at the same time and fooling around outside. He ended up dying of exhaustion in a woman's bed. He's probably a lecherous ghost after death, unable to reincarnate. Even though I hate him, we were in love once. After I went to the clinic with you, I thought of my ex and just burned the red envelope you gave me for him. Heather, you don't mind, do you?" After saying that, I tried hard to suppress my laughter, watching Heather's face turn shades of red and white. She stood there with her mouth agape, speechless for a long time, then turned and ran out of the dorm. That evening, Heather returned to the dorm and sidled up to me with a smile plastered on her face. "Ashley, can you tell me your birth date and time?" Hearing her ask this, I immediately became wary. "What do you want it for?" Heather giggled. "Nothing, we've lived together for so long, and I still don't know your birthday. I can't even buy you a gift." I raised an eyebrow. "I can tell you my birthday, but my birth date and time aren't necessary, are they?" But Heather persisted, leaning in and whispering mysteriously in my ear, "You don't know, I know a master fortune teller who's really accurate. I've been going to him for a while. You've been so good to me, I want to help you get a reading too, see when you'll finally find someone." "Ha, a fortune teller? You're that kind?" Suddenly, I received a text message. I glanced at it quickly and immediately put on a smiling face. "Oh, Heather, I don't really believe in that stuff, but since you're offering, I should thank you. Forget about finding someone. Ask the master to tell me when I'll get rich." With that, I gave Heather my birth date and time. Heather took out a yellowed piece of paper and wrote it down, her smile growing even wider. "Oh, right, Ashley, there's something else I wanted to discuss with you. I'm not feeling well today. Can we turn off the lights and go to bed early?" I immediately nodded in agreement. "Sure, I'm tired too and wanted to sleep early anyway." Heather and I had a two-person room, there was no one else. Seeing that I agreed, Heather immediately turned off the lights and climbed into bed. I lay in bed pretending to be asleep, but my eyes were secretly glancing at Heather. Her phone screen was on by her bedside. After a long while, she quietly climbed out of bed. I quickly closed my eyes and started breathing heavily. I heard Heather's footsteps approach my bedside, linger for a moment, and then move aside. I quietly opened my eyes. Heather was rummaging through my closet, pulled out a coat, and then climbed back into her bed. I instantly understood what she was trying to do. Just after 12, the man reappeared at the dorm room door as expected and silently climbed into Heather's bed. Only this time, The man quickly got down from Heather's bed and vanished without a trace. The next day, Heather woke up early looking refreshed and tossed the clothes to me. Ashley, I was a bit cold yesterday, so I borrowed your coat. You don't mind, do you? I shook my head. Of course not. But Heather looked at me with a strange smile. So yesterday, did you dream about your ex-boyfriend? TSK, I didn't expect you to go for such an old man. How could you even stomach it? Ugh, that's disgusting. I feigned disbelief. Old man? What old man? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Heather smirked. It's okay, you'll understand tonight. With that, she got up and left the dorm. Today was the elective course exam. Although you rarely fail electives, this professor was still very strict and required a closed book exam. I glanced at the questions. Whoa, basically all gimme questions. You could pass just by answering randomly. Seeing this, I breathed a sigh of relief and started writing furiously. It didn't take me long to finish the questions and prepare to hand in my paper. But just as I was about to get up, I heard a commotion from behind me. What are you doing? Take out your phone. I turned to look. The professor was standing next to Heather's seat. Heather's face was flushed red, and she was desperately clutching her desk drawer, refusing to let go. The professor, getting impatient, had jerked her hand away and pulled a phone out of the drawer. I made it very clear before the exam. Put your phones on the podium. Why didn't you hand yours in? Heather stammered, unable to speak. The professor glanced at her paper, his voice rising. Other students have already handed in their papers, and you still have so much blank. You're cheating on such an easy paper? Have you even attended class? With that, the professor confiscated Heather's phone and paper and walked to the podium, forcefully drawing a line across her paper with his pen. Cheating on the exam, 0 points. Heather pleaded with the professor, but he didn't even glance at her. As soon as the bell rang, he left the classroom with the papers. The students started whispering, "What's up with Heather? The questions were so easy. Why would she cheat? Yeah, elective grades don't even affect scholarship evaluations. What was she trying to gain by cheating? Do you think she got first place before by cheating too? I bet she's a habitual cheater. Someone who cheats on an elective, getting first in core courses? Only a fool would believe that." Listening to the students' discussion, I suppressed a smile, packed my things, and went back to the dorm. This jinx was pretty powerful. Heather failed 2 courses in 2 days. Her scholarship for this year was definitely out of the question. I was leisurely playing games in the dorm when Heather suddenly kicked the door open and glared at me fiercely. "Ashley Miller, was this your doing?" I looked innocent. "What did I do?" "Heather, what are you talking about?" Heather yelled at me angrily. "Did you deliberately burn the red envelope for that dead ghost?" "Ashley Miller, you're too malicious." I blinked. "What are you saying? I don't understand." Heather's mouth twitched, words on the tip of her tongue swallowed back down. She pointed a finger at me forcefully. "If you hadn't burned that red envelope, how could I? You're something else, Ashley Miller. Just you wait, you're in for it today." With that, Heather ignored me and climbed into bed, playing on her phone. I looked at her retreating figure and sneered. "I'm in for it. The one who's in for it tonight is probably you." It soon reached 12 o'clock, but I wasn't sleepy at all. I knew Heather wasn't asleep either. It seemed like we were both waiting for something to arrive. Suddenly, the dorm door opened inexplicably. A gust of cold wind swept in, and the temperature in the dorm instantly plummeted. I huddled under my blanket but couldn't stop shivering. I peeked towards the door, but the scene before me almost made me wet the bed. The lecherous ghost who had climbed into Heather's bed the past 2 days appeared at the door dressed in bright red clothes. Behind him were 4 short paper figures, 2 on each side, carrying a paper sedan chair. With another gust of cold wind, the lecherous ghost slowly floated into the dorm, the paper figures swaying unsteadily behind him. Just as I was wondering what to do, a sinister voice suddenly echoed in the air. "My dear wife, your husband has come to marry you." As soon as the voice fell, I felt the chill intensify. The lecherous ghost was actually walking towards me with the paper figures. I quickly pulled the blanket tighter and squeezed my eyes shut. My dad had told me that as long as I don't make eye contact with a ghost, it can't hurt me. To be honest, Even though I'd heard many strange tales from my dad growing up, this was the first time I'd been so close to something unclean. I could feel the coldness getting closer and closer, finally stopping above my head. A chill seeped through my pores, reaching every part of my body. I felt as if I were frozen solid, unable to move. I clenched my jaw tightly, trying not to lose consciousness. After what felt like an eternity, a cold, eerie voice boomed in my ear. "My dear wife, look at me. I am your husband." My eyelids kept fluttering, feeling like they were no longer under my control, almost about to open. Just as my eyelids were about to lift, the voice sounded again. "Huh. The smell is wrong. Wrong person." The moment the voice faded, I instantly felt a sense of relief. My eyes, which I couldn't control just moments ago, were suddenly freed. I quickly squeezed them shut again. The chill gradually receded from me. I let out a long sigh of relief inwardly. There were only 2 of us in the dorm. If it wasn't me, then who could it be? Suddenly, I heard a scream from the direction of Heather's bed. "No, don't come over here. You're Ashley Miller's ex-boyfriend. Go find her. What are you doing coming after me?" The cold voice sounded again. "You are my wife. Who else would I look for? See, I even brought a dowry." Then a rotten smell filled the air. "Ah, toads. Help me." Along with Heather's screams, I suddenly felt an overwhelming wave of drowsiness wash over me. My head spun and I passed out. The next day was the weekend. When I opened my eyes, it was already high noon, and Heather still hadn't gotten up. It wasn't until evening that Heather tiredly sat up in bed, her face deathly pale, completely lifeless, like a zombie. Heather glared at me venomously. In her current state, she looked no different from a female ghost. "Ashley Miller, what on earth did you do?" I leisurely ate my takeout. "What do you mean?" "Heather, I haven't understood a word you've said these past few days." Heather struggled to get out of bed, walked over to me, and flipped my takeout container. "Stop pretending, Ashley Miller. I arranged a ghost marriage for you tomorrow. Why did that dead ghost come after me?" I didn't want to argue with her, but she flipped my takeout. Who could tolerate that? I slammed the table. "Heather, shouldn't I be the one asking you? I kindly accompanied you to the clinic for your procedure, and you tried to buy my life. Have you no shame? I wasn't the one who got you pregnant. Why buy my life? If you have the guts, go buy that little boyfriend's life. Since you don't dare to go after him, I could only find an old lecherous ghost for you to play with." Heather trembled with anger, pointing at me, speechless for a long moment. You. I grabbed her finger. "Don't point your dirty finger at me. Dead people have no lifespan left. If you buy a dead person's life, your lifespan won't increase, it will decrease. But it's not without benefits. You added to the old lecherous ghost's lifespan, helped reduce his punishment in the underworld. Isn't he going to come and cherish you every day? Heather, you should thank me for this. I'm helping you accumulate netherworld merit." Heather struggled hard to free her hand, but she was incredibly weak at this point and couldn't exert any force. Not only could she not break free, but she also cried out in pain. "Ashley Miller, you let me go." I twisted her fingers forcefully. As she yelped in pain, her whole body slumped to the ground. Pain. "Ashley Miller, you bastard. What happened yesterday? I clearly arranged a ghost marriage for you. Why did that lecherous ghost come after me?" I sneered, released her fingers, took the coat she wore that night out of the closet, and threw it at her. "Heather, oh Heather, you really know how to pick. This coat was my gift to you. Happy birthday." Heather's eyes widened. "What did you say? A gift for me?" I smirked. "Yeah, didn't you see it that day? There was a greeting card inside the coat too." Saying that, I pulled a card from the coat pocket. It read, "Happy birthday to classmate Heather," and was signed with Heather's birth date and time. Heather looked at me in disbelief. How did you know my birth date and time?" I smiled faintly. "It was written on your red envelope, in red pen in the bottom right corner. You forgot." Heather finally reacted, glaring at me. "Ashley Miller, you planned this all along, didn't you? You only left this one coat in your closet, you did it on purpose to harm me." I sneered. "Lady, let's get clear on who's harming whom. You were the one who wanted to set me up in a ghost marriage with that old lecherous ghost. It just so happened that you took the coat I gave you and ended up in a ghost marriage yourself. This is called trying to steal a chicken only to lose the rice used to lure it. What does it have to do with me? Heather stared at me fiercely. Wasn't he your ex-boyfriend? I was helping you with your unfinished ghost-human romance. What's wrong with that? I burst out laughing. Ex-boyfriend? Please, I've been single my whole life. Where would I get an ex-boyfriend? Do you think I'd fall for that old thing? That was just some random old lecherous ghost I found in the cemetery. Heather's mouth twitched, and she sat down on the floor, speechless for a long time. I sneered. You have time to argue with me here. You might as well think about yourself first. A lecherous ghost plus a jinx. TSK Heather. Oh Heather, you've got a lot to endure from now on. My words reminded Heather. She glared at me, struggled to get up, and threw out, "You just wait," before turning and leaving the dorm. That night, Heather didn't return to the dorm. The next morning, I called my dad and told him everything that had happened over the past few days. My dad told me to burn the talisman paper he had left for me to ward off evil. Even though the unclean thing wasn't after me, it would still affect my health somewhat. I burned the talisman paper as my dad instructed, but unexpectedly, as soon as I finished burning it, the dorm door was suddenly pushed open, and Heather walked in with our advisor. Heather pointed at me and said to the advisor, "Professor, Ashley Miller is practicing superstitious rituals in the dorm." The advisor frowned and walked over to me. "Ashley Miller, what are you doing?" I didn't expect Heather to pull this stunt. I frowned and slowly said, "Professor, I was just burning paper for fun." Before the advisor could speak, Heather shrieked, "Burning paper for fun? You were burning talisman paper, weren't you? Ashley Miller, I knew there was something wrong with you. Professor, Ashley Miller has been talking to me about things like buying lives and ghost marriages these past few days. I suspect she's involved in superstitious scams." Hearing Heather say this, the advisor's face darkened. "Ashley Miller, what do you mean by telling Heather these things?" My eyes darted around, and I said to the advisor, "Professor, I was just telling Heather stories. Burning paper in the dorm was my fault. I won't do it again." "I'm sorry, Professor." The advisor clearly didn't believe my nonsense, his tone unfriendly. "Telling stories? How old are you still telling stories? Ashley Miller, what exactly are you trying to do?" Heather chimed in smugly from the side, "Professor, don't listen to her nonsense. She's been talking about old lecherous ghosts and jinxes these past few days. It's definitely not just storytelling. Besides, why would you burn talismans while telling stories? Professor, Ashley Miller's father is a scammer who does fortune telling. She must have learned it from her dad, and is trying to scam classmates out of money. She even scammed a red envelope from me before." Hearing Heather's words, the advisor's expression became even uglier. Looking at Heather's smug face, I couldn't help but find it amusing. This jerk would really do anything to slander me. "Since you're being unjust, don't blame me for being unrighteous." I pretended to be panicked. "Professor, I didn't scam anyone. Since it's come to this, I'll tell the truth. Yes, my dad is indeed a fortune teller. He taught me some methods to exorcise evil spirits. I was burning paper here today to help Heather exorcise evil spirits." Hearing me say this, Heather's expression changed instantly. "Exorcise evil spirits for me? What's wrong with me that I need you to exorcise evil spirits?" I smiled mysteriously. "You were screaming strangely in the middle of the night yesterday. It's obvious you were possessed by a ghost." "I'm not lying, Professor. If you don't believe me, ask the students around. It was so loud yesterday they definitely heard it." A crowd of students had already gathered outside our dorm room to watch the commotion. Hearing me say this, the advisor turned and scanned the crowd, his gaze falling on Sarah from the room next door. "Sarah, tell me, what did you hear last night?" Sarah, suddenly being asked, hesitated and stammered for a long time. "Professor, I." The advisor glared. "Tell the truth. Did you hear any commotion last night?" Sarah bit her lip, her face red, and after a long pause finally nodded. "Professor, I did hear Heather scream yesterday." Heather's eyes widened. "You, what nonsense are you talking about? When did I scream?" Before Sarah could answer, several other students chimed in. "I heard it too. I thought you guys were watching a horror movie. The screams were terrifying." Yes, I had just fallen asleep and was startled awake. I heard it too, it was so scary. Heather isn't really possessed by a ghost, is she? Heather's face flushed red, and she stammered, what ghost possession? I was having a nightmare. Then she turned her attack back on me. Ashley Miller, you scammed a red envelope from me before, saying it was some damn life-buying money. I know your family isn't well off. If you can't afford to eat, just tell me, I'll treat you. But you can't use superstitious scams to deceive people. Professor, I suggest expelling this scammer, Ashley Miller, so she doesn't go on to harm other students. Hearing this, the advisor's gaze fell on me again. I smirked. Heather, since you've said so much, I won't cover for you anymore. Professor, Heather did give me a red envelope, but it wasn't any life-buying money, it was hush money. Hush money? The advisor looked at me doubtfully. I smiled faintly. Yes, Heather got pregnant unexpectedly, and her boyfriend couldn't be reached. She didn't dare tell her family, so she begged me to go with her for an abortion, and gave me a red envelope as hush money. Heather, I really didn't expect you to say such things about me. In that case, there's no need for me to hide anything anymore. As soon as I finished speaking, the surrounding students erupted into a flurry of discussion. I looked at Heather's flushed face and continued, these past few days, Heather has been tormented by the child she aborted. That's why she's been having such bad luck. Heather, whether it's superstition or not, I was kind enough to help you exorcise the evil spirits. And you turned around and bit me. That's not very decent of you. Hearing me say this, the students' discussions grew louder. Wow, Heather usually looks like such a good girl. She actually got pregnant? No wonder she got caught cheating on the exam, so she was being haunted by a little ghost. Serves her right, the baby in her belly was alive too. How could she just get an abortion like that? TSK, I really didn't expect the top student to do something like this. Heather's eyeballs were practically bulging out of their sockets, her gaze at me almost shooting fire. She pointed at me, stammering for a long time, then suddenly lunged forward. Ashley Miller, you liar, you're slandering my reputation. I'll fight you. Several students nearby quickly grabbed Heather. I stood my ground, saying calmly, whether I'm slandering you or not, we'll know by checking your medical records. Heather, you have no shame, and you still expect me to cover for you? Dream on. The advisor, seeing the situation spiraling out of control, sternly shouted, enough. You two, bring your parents here tomorrow. We need to have a good talk. What is all this? With that, he told the surrounding students to disperse and then turned and left. Heather followed behind the advisor, glaring fiercely at me. Ashley Miller, just you wait. Wait, I will. After Heather left, I calmly took out my phone and called my dad. Dad, our teacher wants to see our parents. Can you come to the school tomorrow? The next day, my dad arrived at the school gate early. I led him to the advisor's office. Heather was already waiting in the office. Seeing us enter, Heather looked my dad up and down with a disdainful tone. Ashley Miller, your scammer dad doesn't seem to have scammed much money, huh? Dressed like such a hick. I looked at the old coat my dad was wearing and said to him helplessly, Dad, you could have dressed a little nicer. You make so much money, why make yourself suffer? My dad grinned foolishly at me. Oh, I'm used to wearing these clothes. As long as my daughter isn't suffering, it's fine. Professor, what did Ashley do wrong? Why call her parents all of a sudden? Ashley has never been called to the principal's office in her entire life. Before the advisor could speak, Heather said arrogantly, your daughter is practicing superstitious rituals and harming people at school. She's about to be expelled. Ha, like father, like son. A big scammer raises a little scammer. Today we're taking down the whole nest. Hearing Heather's words, I instantly flared up. She could insult me, but how dare she insult my dad? I strode over to her and slapped her hard across the face. Heather, watch your mouth. Who are you calling a scammer? For so many years, it's always been others seeking my dad's help. My dad has never actively sought out anyone. Don't think you can do whatever you want just because your dad donated money to the school. A piece of trash like you who cheats on exams has no right to criticize me. I'm telling you, if you dare call my dad a scammer again, I'll rip your mouth apart. I'd been practicing taekwondo since I started school, so that slap wasn't light. It stunned Heather for a good while. The advisor was also shocked by my actions and quickly yelled, "Ashley Miller, what are you doing? You're hitting someone right in front of the professor. That's too much." I turned and glared at the advisor. "Professor, if someone insulted your parents, would you hit them or not?" The advisor was taken aback by my question, and when he spoke again, his tone was noticeably weaker. "Even so, you can't hit someone in front of a professor. Alright, let's talk about you practicing superstitious rituals today." Heather's father was a well-known wealthy businessman in the area and had donated a lot of money to the school. Heather dared to ask the advisor for help, clearly relying on her father's influence. I rolled my eyes. It was agreed that both parents would come. "My dad is here, where's hers?" Heather was still stunned. The advisor spoke for her. "Mr. Heather is busy with work, unlike you idle people. He'll be here in a little while. Let's talk about your problem first. What exactly were you doing burning talisman paper in the dorm yesterday?" I pouted. "Professor, let's wait until Heather's father arrives." At this point, Heather had also recovered. Her face flushed red as she pointed at me and cursed, "Ashley Miller, you bastard, how dare you hit me? I've never been hit in my entire life." "Fine, just you wait. When my dad gets here, see how he deals with you." I glared at Heather, and she immediately shivered in fear. My dad, seeing the tense atmosphere, tried to smooth things over. "Oh, Ashley, what are you doing? How can you bully your classmate?" "Professor, this is my fault. I shouldn't have told Ashley all that nonsense. I was just telling her stories for fun. I didn't expect her to take it seriously." "Professor, just laugh it off. Don't take it to heart. That classmate, are you okay? Ashley bullying you is her fault. I'll definitely teach her a lesson when we get home, and see if she dares to hit you again." My dad's words made Heather even angrier. "She bullied me? The great Miss Heather bullied by this country bumpkin? You really think highly of yourselves. Fine, I'll call the police right now and have them arrest both of you. Ashley Miller, this one slap is enough to send you to jail. If you don't kowtow and apologize to me today, I absolutely will not let you off." Saying that, Heather took out her phone to call the police. Suddenly, a man's voice came from outside. "Heather, what's going on?" After seeing who it was, the advisor quickly scurried over to greet him. "Mr. Heather, you're here? It's nothing serious, just some students fooling around. I could have handled it myself, but Heather insisted you come and give her justice. Sorry to take up your time." Heather immediately rushed towards Mr. Heather, as if she had seen her savior. "Dad, this bitch is practicing superstitious rituals in the dorm, and even dared to hit me, boo-hoo-hoo." Mr. Heather looked at me fiercely. Then his gaze fell on my dad. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically, and he looked at my dad in shock. Heather didn't notice her father's change and was still rambling on. "And Ashley Miller's dad, a country bumpkin practicing superstitious scams. I'm going to call the police and have them both arrested." Suddenly, Mr. Heather pushed Heather away forcefully and roared at her. "Call the police? What police are you calling? You might as well call the police to arrest your own father." 10. The sudden turn of events left Heather completely bewildered. The advisor was also dumbfounded. Heather's father, Mr. Heather, quickly walked over to my dad, a broad smile on his face as he extended his hand. "Oh, Master Han, I really didn't expect to run into you here again. My daughter is ignorant and spoke nonsense, offending you. Please don't take it to heart." My dad chuckled and shook Mr. Heather's hand. "Mr. Heather, you're being too formal. So this is your daughter after all this? We're all on the same side. It's not good for things to get so ugly. Let's settle whatever it is privately and not trouble the professor, okay?" Hearing my dad, Mr. Heather nodded repeatedly in agreement, and then said to the advisor, "Professor Chin, today's incident is all Heather's fault. Just pretend nothing happened. We can discuss anything else privately." With that, he patted Heather's shoulder. "Heather, quickly apologize to your Uncle Han." Tears streamed down Heather's face as she looked at her dad in disbelief. Seeing her motionless, Mr. Heather patted her again, more forcefully this time. "Didn't you hear me? Hurry up and apologize to Uncle Han." Heather swallowed hard, gritted her teeth, and said to my dad, "Uncle Han, I'm sorry." My dad still looked at her with a smile. "Oh. Mr. Heather, what are you doing? It's mainly a misunderstanding between the two kids. Why apologize to me? It's not necessary at all. Mr. Heather paused, then gently patted Heather. Ah. Yes, quickly apologize to your classmate. Heather clenched her jaw tightly and, after a long moment, squeezed out from between her teeth, I'm sorry. I rolled my eyes at her. I can't accept your apology. Didn't you say you were going to call the police and arrest me? And that you wouldn't let me off if I didn't kowtow and apologize to you? Mr. Heather froze again, his face darkening as he gritted his teeth and said to Heather, kneel down and apologize to your classmate. Hearing Mr. Heather, my dad quickly stopped him. All right, Mr. Heather, what's all this? We're all family here. Why make it like this? It's just a misunderstanding between children. Once it's cleared up, they'll still be good classmates, right? Mr. Heather glared at Heather. Hurry up and thank Uncle Han. Heather lowered her head and muttered, Thank you, Uncle Han. Hearing this, Mr. Heather finally breathed a sigh of relief and said to my dad, Master Han, I've booked a private room at Wangyun Tower for lunch. Would you do me the honor of joining me? This was our fault from the beginning. Consider it my apology to you and your daughter. 11. Only after having lunch with Mr. Heather did I understand the whole story. It turned out that Mr. Heather's company had recently encountered some unclean things. My dad is a renowned feng shui master in the industry, a guest of honor for many big bosses. Mr. Heather was only able to meet my dad through multiple referrals, and was just about to ask my dad for help with the problems his company was facing. And earlier, when Heather was looking for a way to arrange a posthumous marriage, she found my dad's apprentice. My older brother fellow apprentice happened to know that Heather was my roommate, so he sent me a text message to warn me. That's how I was able to turn the tables and arrange a posthumous marriage for Heather. After Heather was set up with the posthumous marriage, she asked her dad for help, and her dad, in turn, sought my dad's help, which is how it was resolved for her. However, Heather didn't know it was my dad who helped, which is why she was so arrogant and wanted to destroy me. Heather had just had an abortion, had her lifespan borrowed by the old lecherous ghost, and was also set up in a posthumous marriage. Her overall complexion was extremely poor, and she was muddle-headed and listless every day. Final exams were just around the corner. I was studying in the library when I suddenly received a text message. It was from my dad's apprentice. After reading the content of the message, I burst out laughing. I never would have thought this incredible fortune would finally fall into my lap. I quickly called my dad. When I returned to the dorm that night, Heather, for a change, put on a smiling face and brought a cup of bubble tea to me. Ashley Miller, I was wrong about what happened before. I've suffered so much already, please forgive me. I smiled at her. Heather, I'm so happy you can say that. Your dad and my dad are friends, and we're roommates. Why did we have to make things so tense? Saying that, I took the initiative to take her bubble tea and took a sip. Why is this bubble tea a bit bitter? A flicker of unnaturalness crossed Heather's face. Oh, you said you were trying to lose weight before, so I ordered it with half sugar. I smiled and nodded, then said to her, Hey Heather, why don't you go ask my dad for a fortune reading? I see you've been having a lot of bad luck lately. Is it because your fate isn't good? Let my dad find a way to change your fate. Your dad and my dad are so close he won't charge you. Heather's gaze flickered away from mine. Ah well, forget it. I'll try to figure something out myself. Ashley, finish your bubble tea quickly. I waited in line for a long time to buy this. Okay. I chugged the bubble tea in front of Heather. As the bubble tea neared the bottom, the smile on Heather's face grew wider. That night, I was sleeping soundly when I suddenly smelled something burning. I squinted and saw Heather kneeling in the middle of the dorm, hands clasped together, muttering something, with a burning piece of talisman paper on the floor. A faint smile touched my lips. I turned over and went back to sleep. Unexpectedly, the next morning, I felt weak all over and couldn't get out of bed at all. I said weakly to Heather, Heather, I feel so sick I might be ill. Today's a big lecture. I'm not going. If the professor calls attendance, can you answer for me? Heather, however, shedding her usual listlessness, walked up to me full of energy and said with a grin, Sure, don't worry, just get some rest. Watching Heather walk out of the dorm full of vitality, I quickly got up, took out the talisman paper my dad had left me, burned it to ashes, sprinkled it into a cup of water, tilted my head back, and drank it down. A raw taste traveled down my throat into my stomach. It felt as if a piece of sheet metal had scraped past my larynx. But in a short while, that feeling of weakness completely disappeared. I felt as if I had come back to life. I picked up my textbook, walked to the classroom, and sat in the last row. The professor didn't call attendance for the entire class. Just as class was about to end, Heather suddenly raised her hand. "Professor, Ashley Miller doesn't seem to be here. Perhaps you should call attendance?" The professor looked at her doubtfully, and was about to call attendance when I stood up directly. "Professor, I'm here, right here." Watching me wave energetically at the professor, Heather's jaw nearly dropped to the floor. The professor glared fiercely at Heather, noted her name, and left the classroom. When I got back that night, Heather looked at me incredulously. How did you go to class?" I rolled my eyes at her. Why couldn't I go to class? You, on the other hand, said you'd answer for me but then stabbed me in the back. Heather, oh Heather, aren't you just pathetic? You. Heather glared at me fiercely, grabbed her luggage, and threw out. "I'm not staying in the dorm anymore," before leaving. Soon it was final exams. I originally felt I wasn't fully prepared and was a bit worried. But unexpectedly, the exam content was all stuff I had reviewed. I was instantly overjoyed and wrote furiously, finishing all the questions. I peeked at Heather. Her face was flushed, she was sweating profusely, and she was looking around helplessly. The 2 days of exams ended quickly. I was full of confidence. It looked like I might even get first place this time, maybe even win a scholarship. The results came out soon. As expected, I surprisingly got first place in the year, while Heather failed 2 more subjects. However, the bad news didn't stop there. While I was in the dorm packing my things to go home, Heather suddenly burst in, crying with her phone in her hand. "Dad, how could this happen? Didn't Master Han already solve it for you? How could?" The phone slipped from Heather's hand and fell to the floor. She also slumped to the ground. I whistled, ignoring Heather on the floor, and answered my dad's call. "Hey Dad, what? The company you invested in went public? Congratulations, CEO Han. Doesn't that make me a rich kid? See Dad, you just needed a little push. When I get home, I want to drive a sports car. Ha ha ha." Before I could hang up, Heather suddenly pounced on me and knocked me to the ground. "Ashley Miller. Why? Why did my dad go bankrupt while your dad became a big boss? Why?" I looked at Heather's Jungning face, sneered contemptuously, and with a flick of my wrist, threw her off me. "Why? You should ask yourself that. Don't you know what you did to me that day?" Heather's eyes widened as she looked at me. What did I do?" I sneered. "You swapped fates with me, remember?" Heather looked at me incredulously. "How would you know?" Looking at her clueless face, I found it almost funny. "My dad is a feng shui master. The bubble tea you gave me, I knew after one sip it had talisman ashes in it. TSK. Heather, you're capable of something as malicious as swapping fates. You're really something else." Heather's mouth twitched and she roared at me. "Yes, I did swap fates with you, so what? Why have I been so unlucky lately? Why was I haunted by a lecherous ghost? Why did I get caught cheating? Ashley Miller, no matter how capable your dad is, he's still just a country bumpkin. The unlucky one should be you, not me. I just can't stand your hypocritical act. I wanted to transfer all this bad luck to you, so what?" I burst out laughing. "Sister, thank you so much. Your bad luck was just because you were haunted by that jinx. Didn't you really know? You have the luck of a once-in-a-century koi fish. Why do you think your dad succeeded in business so easily? Why do you think you got first place in your final exams so effortlessly? Why do you think you got scholarships every year? Because you're a koi fish. But I really didn't expect you to actually swap your koi fish luck with me, ha ha. Little girl, it seems the waters of this koi fish luck are too deep for you to handle." Heather was completely dumbfounded. How is this possible? How is this possible?" I sneered. "Heather, although you have koi fish luck, your heart isn't right. Even with koi fish luck, you can't handle this fate, and sooner or later, you'll suffer a backlash. Swapping fates with me was perhaps the only right thing you did." With that, I burst out laughing and threw the luggage from my bed directly into the trash can. My dad's a rich kid now, so I should be a bit more extravagant, right? Time for a new set. Thinking, I turned my head and looked at Heather, who was still dazed on the floor. Hey, I have something to ask you. How do you be a good rich kid? I just became one, so I don't have much experience. I still need to learn from you, the former rich kid. By the way, I can also teach you some ways to save money. Hey Heather? Don't sleep, say something? Hey. The end.